This year when I began collecting these Spider-Man retro carded figures, Sandman was at the top of that list. Now thankfully I was able to find one for a pretty affordable price, and here we have Sandman. Hey everyone, it's been a while since I was able to update the list of Spider-Man retro figures purchased, but today's one's a pretty good one. This is the Marvel Legends Spider-Man Retro Vintage series of Sandman. Looks like he was released in 2021. I got mine on Amazon this year along with my 20th anniversary Hulk figure that I really adored. That was a pretty great purchase overall, honestly. These two figures knock it out of the park. Out of all of the figures that I've bought this year, this one might be tied with Hulk and Beast for the most amount of fun that I've had opening and posing around. Now with Beast and Hulk, that should totally make sense. Big figures, loads of extras, very heavy on the articulation. Sandman though is just a regular sized figure, but this was so great to play around with, mostly because of how good his accessories are. He's got some pretty basic movements for his head, his expression's very sinister and I like that. His hair looks a little funky though. I would have liked to have seen maybe a calmed or a confident look myself, but this does work. Bends in his upper arms and rotates. His forearm also rotates around, which is really cool. Some of those other Hasbro figures I've looked at this year don't have that kind of articulation in their arms, so it is nice to see on these superhero figures. He can bend in his elbow and his hands have rotates and bends as well because they can easily be removed for accessories. The hand complaint though I have is his forearm is so ugly looking. It is a complete different skin tone towards his hands. More on that in a sec though. He's got some obvious bends in his torso. Looks very similar to a Spider-Man figure with his chest hair. I think only half the villains I own have this type of articulation. Rotates at his waist and his legs have bends and rotates. Knees that have that double articulation just like Spider-Man figures, so his shoes can't touch the back of his legs. Rotates and bends in the feet as well. His jeans look pretty cool. I really like those details and the paint job that's done on those. I also like the proportions. I know that some people don't. He feels like a really stocky video game henchman type character for me. That's kind of what I was wanting from these type of goofy Spider-Man villains, but I guess I can totally see why some people would think that it's a little too much for their taste. But now onto his accessories. They are awesome, and they are single-handedly what convinced me on buying this figure. I love that we can have an unsanded version of this because I at least want to have that option to not have his sand abilities exposed, so props to them on that. They really didn't have to do this, but the sand accessories are really great. I'm really glad as well because it's a lack of unique accessories that's actually prevented me from buying some Mr. Fantastic toys recently, as much as I really love the Fantastic Four, but that's not the case here with Sandman. He's got two sand fists, one of a giant fist and one of a sand-like mace. There's also these forearm extenders so that it looks as though the sand is actually forming through his skin rather than just randomly appearing. He has this sand head that features a hole punched through his eye and some sand is reforming that shape. Love the accessories included so much. They've got great texture on them, they have great paint jobs. These type of dynamic inclusions are always a plus in my books. These forearm accessories are the saving grace for me because like I said, his forearm is an entirely different skin tone to his hand. It looks as though his skin's actually painted onto a t-shirt. Just looks wrong, and these help cover up that mistake quite nicely. You can see that it very easily slides onto the arm, and the weapon accessory does as well. Those weapon accessories do not feature articulation though, so all of the displaying will come from the arms themselves. Altogether, he looks really great. He's got some crazy difficulties though standing when he's displayed like this, as you could probably imagine, so you'll need to secure a pretty good display area for him, maybe up against a wall, or have a third-party display stand set out for him. Probably my favorite accessory though is his head, which can actually be displayed with a Spider-Man sending his fist right through him. Remove a Spider-Man toy's hand and you can push the arm through and then connect the hand at the other end. So it does mean that you need to display your Spider-Man a little bit partially lifted off the ground, but we can definitely make that work. Added to my Sinister Six collection here is Sandman. Technically, he's the only official member that I own as a figure. I'd love to get the actual team, but it feels like it's going to be really difficult to do that nowadays with the NZ market, just looking at the scarcity of those figures, but maybe I'll be lucky. I've said in some previous videos before, I love this line so much. They really shine on displays here due to that vibrancy that they all have. Very satisfied with him to add to the collection, and I can't wait to see who else I can get my hands on.